This video here is for the people that, some of the comments, man, about, your ancestors really owned slaves, your white people, but most white people didn't own slaves. There was only like a small percentage of white people that actually owned slaves. Well, have you ever heard of African Dodger? See, African Dodger is a game that, Barnum and Bailey, which was like Walt Disney on wheels, and Walt Disney, and you can imagine any little carnival fair, whatever would come around. And back in them days, that was very, very popular, especially like little small, you know, some shit smaller than the state fair, you know what I'm saying? Little county fair and shit, you know what I'm saying? Maybe less than that. But they had the demographics were to take this little carnival and this little game to. It was the most popular game, and it was called African Dodger. And what happened is, they would take an African man that, man, struggled to have it, man, whatever, man, you know what I'm saying? He's trying to feed his family, he's probably starving, whatever, man. I can't imagine what you'll be going through to do this right here, you know what I'm saying? But you gotta do what you gotta do. They would have them at, we'll go to Barnum and Bailey and, Walt Disney, you work your way down, you know what I'm saying? Probably got worse, but, they would have an African stick his head in like a bullseye. And then so many feet away, it won't real close, but goddamn, I don't give a fuck if it's across the yard. And you would throw the ball and try to hit the African in the head, and of course he would try to move his head around and try to dodge it, and you had a bullseye and all that goddamn shit. You had to hit the bullseye to get your prize. I guarantee you, they said one of the most popular games, or whatever, man, to play. And how many of your ancestors played that game? You might not have owned a slave, but then when the slaves were free, or freed, right? I mean, really? You go there and pay you a little bit of money and try to hit him in his goddamn head. Yeah, and I mean, a lot got put in the hospital, whatever, man. I'm sure. I mean, I know of a few that I read about. I guarantee you, when that carnival came around, or that motherfucking Barnum and Bailey came around, or you went to goddamn Walt Disney, that was when you was in line to play that motherfucker, man. And see, I mean, we're the offspring of that bullshit, man. And they're the offspring of how that motherfucking shit ain't right, dude. That's just straight goddamn what? And check it. So, that's where the dunking, like, when you go to a carnival or something now, you throw the ball and you dunk the person. That's where that shit started from, African Dodger, man. And, a lot of people get put in the hospital, man, shit, get busted up, whatever. And then sometimes when they wouldn't have an African Dodger, or wouldn't have an African to play the role or put his head in there or whatever, you know what I'm saying? They would use, poor white trash then. But of course, the poor white trash couldn't put his head in there and be white. Because it wasn't about hitting a human being in the goddamn head. It was about hitting an African in the goddamn head. Okay? Because that's where blackface, they would paint the white person or white trash, motherfucker, whatever, about almost in the same boat. Not really, but not in a good boat. They would paint his face black. Of course, that's where blackface, like, maybe not the original, but some of the very first blackface, that's where it started from. Because it wasn't about hitting a human in the face, it was about hitting an African. And they done away with it eventually. It went to dunking the African, something like that. But anyway, one of the last times, right before they put a stop to it, I think there was a major league pitcher, man. And he could throw like maybe in the low 90s, man, high 80s and whatever, right? Very accurate. And he threw the ball and hit this African Dodger like right in his mouth, right? And it pushed his teeth back to the back of his throat, literally lodged in his, because, I mean, you're talking about a major league pitcher, man. I mean, pinpointed, wasn't no dodging that. And stuck the ball so bad that they had to cut the dude's jaw, right? Both jaws to get the ball out. Of course, the man eventually died. I don't know if he died on the spot, but he died, And shortly after that, they started fading away from that. But I'm quite sure there was still some, when you go into the small circuits, some small county bullshit, man, come on, man. It might have been against the law, but I guarantee you they still had it. on the low low. Um, anyway, and then there was another game that to me is like, this is it. This says it everything because I guarantee you. I mean, your ancestors did just played a part in this. If they didn't own a slave, they were all about this motherfucking game right here. I guarantee you they played it. You know, and on this alone, motherfucker, real talk. But they would take the babies, man, and sometimes they would. I think it was oh man, I forget how. Anyway, Mini Dodger, yeah. And they would throw the eggs, right, and try to hit the little toddlers or little babies, black, the African babies, with the egg, with an egg, right? Or sometimes you spit tobacco juice, or lube, just spit on them, right? Try to hit them, and and then and before they would have it started, it was like, I don't know why they got some kick out of this shit, but they would have to make sure that they fed the baby, nursed the baby, had the baby nursed till its stomach was really, really full, like it had overeat, man. And then it was going to spit up anyway, and then you put it out there and you're hitting it with the spit and everything that you're hitting it with, or the eggs, and then it starts to spit up. And actually, man, there was some babies that have died like that, choking on the vomit, or somebody lose so much shit on their face, they can't really breathe, they can't get their hands up there to wipe it off and stuff, right, and kind of suffocate, and yeah, that fucking shit happened, dude, and you sit right there and done it, man. You know what I'm saying? You didn't, but your ancestors did, so they might not own a slave, but to me, I mean, goddamn, that's just goddamn bad. You know what I mean? Goddamn. So guess what? You are guilty, motherfucker. No slave, but you might have done even worse, dude. You might have done even worse, man. And then you talk about, I think somebody else on here said something like, yeah, black people hadn't done nothing in 3,000 years or some bullshit like that. And, I mean, you gotta look at Black Walstreet, right? They built that motherfucker, man, and there was a few other places, man, that was booming like that. And I know Wilmington had a couple of places. There was one in Wilmington. I don't know. There's a few, man. Look into it. There's a few, but the worst one I'd say is Black Walstreet, right? Yeah, and cause man, I posted on Facebook, right, and I had this white dude man down here. He's like, man, that's bullshit. And then he went with the original version of the story. You know how they cover shit up and how they whitewash every goddamn thing. And it was a mild thing, and there was a few, a few blacks killed, a few whites. Of course, it was all the black people's fault and everything, but they had like 30 city blocks, man, and they had their own little thriving place, man, across the tracks from the white Tulsa, and very successful, man, and they built that shit. And remember, they left with no capital. See what I'm saying? But they hadn't done nothing. But anyway, there was some shit went down. I think a black kid was getting in the elevator in the white part of town. He was taking care of some business, of course, and a white girl was in the elevator and it startled her, and that startled, man, they grabbed the black dude up and claimed he had did something, and then they got into a little skirmish. A shot went off, somebody got dropped. The next thing I know, or the next thing they knew, the next thing I've seen was the motherfuckers, man. They bombed the motherfucking place, man. The goddamn National Guard, they looted, they took every goddamn thing, man. They burnt like 30 fucking city blocks to the goddamn ground and killed, I know, 1,000. It could be more. I think I've heard estimates of maybe up to 3,000. Not really sure. Something that, this is something a lot of people don't even really know about. But there's people still alive. It was at least a few years ago. That was kids that remember walking around and seeing them push a mass amount of African Americans into these graves, man. And the most fucked up thing is they were gonna try to rebuild this shit, right? And so what Tulsa did, they made a city ordinance, man, some type of shit like that anyway, where if anything had been burnt completely to the ground, to ash, in that, in those blocks, in that area, whatever, man, then it could not be rebuilt upon. Not like that, it could not be rebuilt upon. And unless you jump through all kind of hoops, they didn't have it. They didn't have the money. And I mean, come on, man. They pretty much got ran up off that motherfucking place, man, with nothing. They got nothing, nothing. And See, none of them motherfuckers owned slaves that done that shit. And that's closer to, I mean, that's our ancestors and shit, right? But generational wise, man, that's closer to us now than what the slavery was. And they did that shit in a lot of places, man. In a lot of goddamn places. And we ain't even go into the lynchings and shit, man, that happened. I mean, hell, I know in 1976, 77, I first started to read kind of good, man. We were coming home from Wake County, from Raleigh, coming in Johnston County where I live, and there was a sign even then that said, and this is the 70s, said, "Welcome to Klan Country," right? And then it said, no, it said home of the Ku Klux Klan, home of the Ku Klux Klan, right? Johnston County, home of the Ku Klux Klan, and then it said, "Welcome to Klan Country," N-word. I was like, and I mean, I even had my, it got took down. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I mean, that's another story, man. But anyway, I mean, you're guilty of that. So your ancestors are guilty of that. Maybe not owning nobody in slavery. Oh, I ain't own nobody. Man, that's even worse. So pay up, motherfucker. Pay up, Hector Wood. And I'm gonna end it right there, man. Hey, and if you don't look, go to NBK, New Black Knowledge. I think it's New Black Knowledge, NBK, True Story, man. It's got real good videos, real good information, man. Can go in way better on it than I can. And this for white people. Check it out, man. Check it out, man. I mean, black people too. I mean, you know what I'm saying. But you know, for all them motherfuckers that had something slick to say about slavery and they didn't own one, and white people, and then we were slaves first. Kill the slavery, man. We're talking about after slavery now. And that's where you really owe the motherfuckers that motherfuckers. Everybody, dude. That was everybody. Peace.